Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Anybody got anything they want to share before we kick off the class? Give people another 30 seconds or so to jump in before we get into our big database conversation today. Either anything you got and used from last week, anything you've put into place so far, and or anything you would like to get out of today's session. Everybody's rocking. Your databases are golden. I see some smiles happening. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Got a big topic today, the database, which this is my passion. And it is what I believe is the actual core to selling 100 homes a year. And again, I know I've said this a lot, but our industry has taught us to go get the next deal. And a lot of you are doing a great job calling for sell by owners, things like that. However, there are already 1,000 people or more that you already know in your community that already know who you are. People like working with working with who they know, like, and trust. That was hard to say. And they love helping people they know, especially if you are knowledgeable and you've got the experience. They'd rather use somebody they know. Just like today, I just got literally a call came in and it's like, yeah, this agent was supposedly helping me and hasn't returned my calls. I asked her to check on a few properties that were for sale this weekend, haven't heard back, and just called me and said, hey, I've been told you can help me. And of course I can. So I got him set up on a search, got him the properties. He's driving by him today. And that agent just didn't call him back. And I mean, she doesn't have a relationship with him. He's not from this area. He's actually from Virginia. And so, I mean, again, just those relationships that we already have are huge. Okay, let's see here. Turn on the chat, get my share screen going here. Uh-oh. Looks like my host, I'm disabled from sharing my screen. Let me check here and make sure I get in here with our Mr. Tech Manager. Let me just double check.
He adjusted the settings already.
Okay, cool. I didn't see that come through. I was switched to screen here. So thank you for telling me that. All right, we are good to go then. Oh. You guys see my screen now then? Should.
Yes, sir.
Like I've got the right setup. All right. Cool. We're going to fly through this stuff and because we got a lot to cover. I want to open my chat, make sure. Okay, got it. Okay, guys. So today is, Spark again is growing your business. How to grow your business. When we get into elements, we'll be talking about more direct how-tos. And today we are talking about lead generating for buyers and sellers through the use of your database. And honestly, this is probably my favorite subject because your database really isn't like, I don't call it lead generating. I just call it cultivating the leads, connecting with the people that you already know, connecting with all the people that are in your database. And what you might have to look at too is in your database, when we're talking about this today, you might have a list of people in there. I might even ask if you guys have your database open or you kind of know about how many people are in there, how many contact records do you have in your database? Either throw that in the chat box or just unmute and give us your number if you know what it is. If you don't know what it is, we're going to talk about the database is your business. So knowing that number becomes, in my opinion, one of the most critical numbers you should know because you can quickly predict exactly how much business opportunities you have in front of you. Does anybody know any of their numbers off the top of their head? Type them in the data, or we got 2665, 1168, 2343. Great. So if we know that just based on these numbers, 2200, so yeah, somewhere around 2000, not, didn't see anybody hit the 3000 mark. So it looks like you're between 1000 to 2000. And if the average person is moving every 5 years and it's 1000 to 2000, that's 200 to 400 of those people on your list that you're looking at right now are moving. And forget about the fact that some of them might be realtors, some of them might be, affiliates, inspectors, things like that. You still have real people in there too. And I doubt that out of 2200, 2300, or even 1000, that 20 of them are real people and the rest of them are junk leads, because a lot of people snap right to that. Well, they're not all, doesn't matter if it's, I doubt it's even 50%, if we want to be honest about it, have a conversation around. If you have 1,000 people, 500 of them are not junk. Okay. I'm going to actually say this, like, really, that the number that I'm saying is real. If you have 1,000 people in there, 100 to 200 of them are actually moving. Now, even if some of them are real estate agents, I know, and you've heard this before, is that most real estate agents don't make it through about their 3rd to 5th year. In fact, about 60% of the real estate agents that get into real estate get out of real estate. So even if you have a lot of real estate agents in your database, which if you have 1,000, you probably don't have 500 realtors and 500 real people. I doubt it. I'd give him maybe 100 if you're really good about tracking your co-op agents and agents you've met at events around town. Again, when I say this stuff, listen to it, because it's like, oh, I go to a lot of events and I see real estate agents at our board meetings and RPAC auction and things like that all the time. And I'm not thinking of feeding them into the database. Guys, when you're marketing and dripping on agents, even if they're not at Keller Williams, it's going to make your co-ops go smoother. It's going to be possible downline. Keller Williams is set up to share the profits with you every single month. So you don't have to go out and recruit people. You just have to stay in communication with people and then start asking questions, because you're doing such a great job of that, right? So real estate agents are great people to add in your database. I probably have 6,000 realtors in my database. Those 6,000 real estate agents translate into anywhere from 2 to 3 referrals a month for as long as I can remember. So that is, think about that. If you got 1 referral a month, or even 1 or 2 referrals every couple of months, what would that do to your bottom line? That's huge money, even paying out a referral fee. So the point is that your database is your business. And even if it's real estate agents, they move too, and they get out of business. So you're there to help them. I've probably had half a dozen real estate agents call me that were competitors that unfortunately they might be going through a divorce or something like that. And that's not fun for anybody, by the way, but they can't agree on one mutual person to market the property, because the one spouse isn't going to let the realtor market their own property. They don't trust them if it's a nasty thing. And most of the time it's like, well, what about Brad Korn? And I come up as a neutral name in our local community because I market to all the real estate agents, right? So anyway, I'm just trying to get you guys to think about stuff, but setting up your database, feeding it for an hour every single day. It is feed it every day, feed it every day, feed it every day. Big picture, a well-tended database produces leads. So when we say lead generation, really what you're doing is cultivating and systematically staying in touch with everybody that's currently in your database. I love this. It's a living record of business relationships. If you turn on the campaigns and the action plans or the smart plans, you can turn that nurture into an automatic nurturing process that reminds you to stay in touch. When it says it produces predictable flow of business, there is no disputing. If you have 1,000 people in your database, it is 200 opportunities. So if you capture half of those, it's 100 opportunities. I'm going to beat that one into the ground, because unless if they're staying in their house every 5 years, it's 200 opportunities per 1,000. So if you have 2,000 people in your database, that's 400 opportunities. I'm talking 400 people moving, right? So we're going to look at some real numbers on what that translates down to, but 400. Gosh, if you got 25% of them, it's 100 sales. Every agent should be able to sell 100 properties a year if you manage that database. So what is a database? Oh, actually, before I even say that, what is your database? It's that place for that nurturing of your relationships. Let me say this real quick. Every single person that you meet from this day forward should become a relationship. Every connection that you want to feed new people into your database every single day, unless you literally went nowhere. You could even be in your office and the phone rings. Like I just added that guy that called me right before this class. He just went into my database. Where have I got it? Here, I'll show you. I mean, this lead literally just came in a little bit ago. It's today, Monday, got his name, got his address, got his phone number, got his email, found out what he was looking for. And then you'll see here in the top, I set up a search. Hopefully it's zooming in. Oh, I think my stuff, my background's on or something. But you can see in that top corner, I've added him in my database. I've written him a handwritten note and he's set up on an auto MLS search. That all happened in about 15 minutes, about an hour ago. And you're adding, and I connected with him on the phone and got him to tell me where he lived, gave me his address. I just asked, I said, so what's your address now? And he just gave it to me. So I had his email, his phone number, got all that stuff. And that went into the database. It went on a startup of a campaign that now just sends him letters and says, you should be getting MLS listings by now. Here's what it looks like. It's going to remind me to call him every like few days just to see if he's getting searches and driving by them. He's going to get email updates that, in about 2 weeks, if he hasn't called me or gone to look at a house yet, it will say, hey, it's been a couple of weeks since we connected. Are you driving by the properties? Are you getting what you're looking for? Do we need to expand your search? And the system is kind of driving him back to call me too, but it's also got that built in there for me to follow up with him as well, so I don't forget about it. So what's the purpose of the database? What makes a database valuable? What other industries use databases for prospecting, and what makes targeted marketing effective? So when we talk about this database and categorizing and how you're marketing to certain neighborhoods or things like that, remember when we're talking about bulk stuff, I like to see you do more one-on-one, 5 a day, start an 8x8 plan on 5 people today, start an 8x8 plan on 5 people tomorrow, start an 8x8 plan on 5 people the next day, so that it spreads that communication out over a long period of time. That makes it more manageable than doing it all at once, or doing like 100 calls in a day, or doing bold. So let me just stop right here. And I mean, if there's anybody that wants to add any commentary to what a database is or what your database is, we can have a discussion around that, because somebody might learn something from. What do you guys think that database is, the one you're looking at now? And maybe I've even said a couple of things right now today that are getting you to look at your database differently. Anybody want to unmute and share anything there on the database? Or if you're in your second round, how are you seeing your database different today than you did the first time you went through Ignite?
Brad, when you say your 8x8 plan, that's what, you sending out letters?
I do send out some letters. It's mixed mediums. I don't do anything. I don't do all of one thing. I do a lot of everything. And the database, sending letters is a little difficult. You can't do it in command. Like, it won't send the PDF letter to the printer, where like when I run an 8x8, there are 2 letters in there that actually print to my local printer here, that I fold and I put in an envelope. I mean, it's got, see, this is my morning routine. I've got letters that have printed out. And I mean, this is just something, let's just see what we got here in this letter here. Bought a house without seeing it. So it's just a chicken soup from the soul story, nothing fancy. And this is going to Michelle somebody, Michelle Clark. Oh, so this is actually an accounting gal in my network group that I put them on the 8x8 that I would put anybody on, that just strengthens the relationship, because I see them all every single week. And I want to be top of mind when they think of me. Now, I haven't stamped it and put the return label, but already there's There's the 2 cards that are going out today from the 2 people I talked to and connected with today. So the handwritten notes are sitting right there on the table, ready to go out today. That's what I was doing right before I got on with you guys. So the campaigns they're going to affiliates, they're going to the people that I'm meeting throughout the day, they're going to agents that I connect with. I mean, in Kelly, we can connect with people through the network. So whenever somebody accepts my network, they go on a follow-up plan that now keeps Kansas City in front of them. So there's just all kinds of drips running, so that I use Top Producer for my Met database right now because I've got thousands of plans running. And everybody's getting something different, and the letters just go to the printer, and mail is important to me. I like to see that mail go out because I chicken scratch little notes on the letter sometimes. If their name pops out to me, great. If it doesn't, man, I'm spending as little time as possible stuffing these envelopes. And it's usually just about 50 to 100 letters a day that are stuffing in there, but that's my lead generation. It's actually my lead cultivation. And I'm putting some personal notes on there I call trashing the letter. So I love the print side of it, going in the mailbox and them opening things up. I get calls all the time from people that they'll just say something about, yeah, we get your stuff in the mail, we get your stuff in the mail. And you think like people don't want your stuff in the mail. Yeah, that's people that you don't have a relationship with. People who know me and like me like getting stuff in the mail from me, right? So there is some mail. I try to use very little email. I don't like a lot of email in my drip plans. And then there's definitely phone calls. Sorry about that background noise. I forgot to mute, do not disturb my phone. I'm gonna do that right now. Probably disturbs me more than it does you guys. Okay, so
talk,
yeah,
text,
go ahead.
and letter.
Say that again.
Talk, text, and letter. 5 and 5 a day.
Adding 5 a day.
Or
Yeah,
calling 5 a day. If you talk
I
to
will
5, you
write
text 5,
5.
letter to 5.
I will write 5 handwritten notes a day for sure, because that's the very first step. That's my filter to know that if I connected with you well enough to get your address and your phone number, which we're going to talk about that here on one of the next slides. When I get your address in my conversation, which I have to get because I can't start you on an 8x8 without writing a handwritten note. And I can't write a note if I don't have your address. How can I mail it to you? So that one that was Mark Soto. So this guy right here today, it's a guy I know in California that's a coach, but he's also a real estate agent. And he's been like, he heard my 100 sales a day thing or something that we talked about. And he's like, man, I sold 12 properties so far this year, and it's been a nightmare. I think I need to hire you to help me with my database and get my business going, right? So I put his phone number in fastpeoplesearch.com, and it came up for Oceanside, California. I thought pretty sure that was his number. So I just pick up my phone and text him. I was like, hey, Mark, looking forward to talking to you more about helping you with the real estate business, because I'm expanding around the country with these systems and stuff, right? So I said, we talked about it on Sunday or Saturday or something. So I said, are you in Oceanside on this address? He goes, no, that's not me, that's somebody else. Let me see, we're getting some background noise here. I'm gonna mute somebody out, figuring out where it's coming from. I basically said, you in Oceanside. I just texted it to him because we talk all the time. And he's like, nope, wrong mark. I'm in blah, blah, blah. So then I searched it again by his name and I found it. And he's in Placerville, California. So that's where the note's going. And that he said it was right by Tahoe, which is Placerville. So anyway, I found his address. I can find people, I can dig this stuff up in less than a minute or two most of the time. So another thing, this is just Brad Korn, but I will give myself 5 minutes to research a contact lead to see if I can find the missing information. And if I know I'm going to be calling them, I'll try to do that ahead of time so I can reference like, hey, you live in Oceanside? And no, I don't live in Oceanside. No, I'm in Placerville. Oh, where are you at in Placerville? That's how I ask for addresses. Oh, I'm at blah, 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 blah. And they usually give you their address. It's weird, but they do it. So anyway, so yeah, my drip plans are really mixed up. Even in command, my drip plans are mixed up with phone call reminders, to-dos to like send them a direct message on Facebook. Those are spread out. And I don't have a ton of that in there because writing handwritten notes, making phone calls, and doing personal personalized messages takes more time, right? So there's at least 4 of those over a year with four social media touches a year. And then I fill in the rest with the letters and the emails and whatever, any of the automated stuff. But the other thing I'm going to tell you guys to be very careful of, the more automated your follow-up is in your database, the more chances you're going to have name errors. You're going to have people that pass away that you're not in touch with. You have to have the personal touch in there. I mean, when my labels print all the time, if you have anybody else feeding anybody into your database, or it's coming in from a website, you have to have a filter to have some kind of system in place to see that pop up, to go, oh, I don't have an address for this person. Or you get returned mail. I don't have them sitting around here right now, but I had like 3 yellow stickers of death, is what I call them, came in the mail last week. So they moved, the address changed, or I have the wrong address. So I have to make sure I get that connected, thinking I had the right one, right? So and again, that is mostly on people that are coming in from the internet that I have not connected with yet, but I've got stuff going out. So they're on a different plan from the 8x8. They're not on my 8x8 plan. I will know the address and send them a handwritten note if I connected with them. And if I connect with you, I've asked you for your address and you've given it to me. Does that make sense? So your database is really, truly like the place to keep all the data, and think of it like a contact management system, like you're managing your contacts with these people to stay in touch with them. So here's kind of the 3 levels of what a database looks like, and what's absolutely essential when you put it in your database is your name, your contact info, past business and past contact records, and at-will communication. These are absolutely critical. At-will communication means that you are scheduling either drip plans in there or you're scheduling another personal touch always. If you don't understand campaigns and you can't figure it out, or you're in a database that doesn't really have a series of events that I can create and just have those sitting there, then you have to schedule that next personal touch and that next reminder to schedule the next personal touch manually. I mean, you just have to do it manually. You cannot, like, I will not put somebody in my database and not have them go on a follow-up plan, because by tomorrow, I will forget who that person is. They're a needle in a haystack now, and there's a database of thousands of people in my database that if I don't start a plan that pops you up in front of me, I'll never see you again, unless I'm looking for you on purpose and we cross paths again. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if they have them in the database. And then I put you in again, and there's a duplicate. And that's because I put you in without putting your contact information and starting a plan to remind me. Second thing, absolutely write this down. This is critical step number 1. And if you look at your database now, those of you that put 2200, 2300, 1100, 1400, look at your database right now and just go from A to Z quickly, scan through, just hit the next arrow, next arrow, next arrow. Like, look and see how many addresses, physical mailing addresses you have in your database. And you actually have a health record on command that will tell you how healthy your database is. One of the factors that creates a healthy database is the address. Guys, we sell real estate. Real estate is a physical address. I don't care if it's commercial, investment property, buying or selling. It's a physical address that we're selling. So to have a contact management system or database that doesn't have addresses in it when you sell real estate just kind of sort of doesn't make sense. And I mean, if you'll start thinking about your business like that, it will change the way you do a lot of stuff, because we sell addresses. It's like being an auto dealer and you don't have a list of the cars on your lot. I mean, who would do that, right? So you got to get the address in there. We sell real estate. Gary's the one that called that one out many years ago, and I've always wondered it. But I remember him calling it out on stage at at Family Reunion once. He's like, we sell houses. How many of you have addresses in your database? Right? So if that's you and you're looking at your database and you don't see a lot of address, it's okay. You can start today, right? One simple way, I'll come back and just remind you in case you're just tuning in for the first time, or you've been here last time and now that was 2 months ago when we talked about this the first time. Master list. Get every name of every person you've ever met that you can think of that would think of you. Get them on in your master list notebook, spiral notebook. Write the names down. Then go back through all your contact sources you have between your phone, Facebook, Messenger, text messages, emails, and find, like, you know how many emails have signature lines that they at least have their cell phone and their office number and their office address, right? Plus you have tax records, you have everything. And if you just start putting addresses with every contact record you have, then using your master list to go back in and clean up your database by getting them out of your master list and into your database, or command if you're using command, right? And then you X them out of here, but now you've got their address, their phone number, all the little miscellaneous things that you had their stuff somewhere that you haven't had it all in one place before. Then in command, you can start a smart plan to remind you to now to stay in touch with them, just to call them twice in the next 8 weeks, and then call them 4 more times a year, so that you are top of mind and it makes your phone ring, right? So here's like the effective stuff is they say obtain permission here. And again, there's some crossover between mass marketing, mass lead generation, talking to strangers, the haven't met database, right? The outer ring, to in the inner ring. You realize these people right here, I do not need to obtain permission to stay in touch with them. This is somebody that you just connected with. That's why I write the note the way I write the note. Hey, it was great catching up. Super excited that, you know, we've connected, and that making this home buying process more fun. That one that I just got from Ron, I said, forgot how I said it exactly. Let me see. We got some background noise happening. I forget how I said it exactly, but I said, sorry you had such a bad experience with your first round of finding a home. Looking forward to changing that and making this a fun experience and getting you properties the minute they hit the market. So that's something like about exactly what I put in that note. It doesn't say I, me, or my in it. It's about him. There isn't even a business card in there, because the drip plan has already started. He's already gotten an email that said you should have received an email from the links. I actually, first thing I do is it says, did you text him your phone number, so that he has me saved in his phone. So that's a to-do item that popped up on my list on day 0. He's already gotten the text. He already confirmed in the text that he received the properties, and he's driving by them today. So here I am sitting here with you guys, and he's driving by properties, because my system is for them to drive by the properties first and call me with the ones that they want to see, because I know they're not even going to want to see half of the properties that they drive by. Does that make sense? So again, jump in anytime if you have questions. You can raise your hand. I should see that pop up on my screen. But obtaining permission, collect personal information, insights. So when you are, a lot of people refer on notes. Honestly, when you set up a system that you stay in touch with people consistently and persistently, notes aren't even critical. 98% of the people are not buying or selling right now. So the only notes that I'm keeping track of is if they have a dog whose name is Fluffy and they love animals, I might put that in there. Or, you know, the kids are in college, things like that, I might throw in there, but it's usually just 1 or 2 words, trigger words. I'm not sitting there typing out notes. That is a waste of time. In fact, in my system, I don't even want you in the database. If you're a buyer's agent or you make money showing properties and writing contracts, I don't even want you logging into the database. I'll just hand you the people you need to call today. If you're in my system, right? That's a waste of time to sit there and take all these notes. The reason why a lot of people want notes, and I'm not saying it's a waste of time if you do it. What I'm saying is most people do that because they have people that they do not plan on being with them for very long. They're going to get turnover. You see a lot of big teams have constant turnover. People are leaving, and they think they got to have those notes because they think they're going to go back and pull that contact record up and pick up where that person left off. But in actuality, nobody's really staying in touch with anybody. It's random. They're pulling up the database and just calling through for an hour and a half, and they're not doing anything consistently and persistently. Now, if you are, I'm not talking to you. If you think you are, I might be talking to you, and I'm probably talking to 95%. We have a question coming in, or is just background talk? All right. Anybody want to ask anything real quick? I'll take a breath for a second.
What about LinkedIn?
How about LinkedIn? Absolutely. So what you're going to do on LinkedIn is you're going to write down every person's name that you are connected with. Now, this is really fun because LinkedIn has different levels of how you're connected to. You're connected on level 2 or level 3. So sometimes you can even see who's connected to those people. But you go through your connected list that you've actually, somebody requested that you guys connect. Write those names down in your master list. I'm gonna even say it differently because like LinkedIn at least shows their name. So that's easy. Instagram might be an at Coach Korn, right? So if you are following me or I'm following you on Instagram, write down my Instagram handle in your master list, because then you got to go back and figure out, okay, who is at Coach Korn from my Instagram account? And you start looking, you figure it out. You're like, oh yeah, that's Brad. I went to a training class. He's an agent in Kansas City. I could get referral business from him. So then you're going to dig in your email, search for my name, look in your phone, see if we texted each other. You're going to go to my Facebook, see where I live. Then you're going to go to fastpeoplesearch.com, type me in. So you see how there's just a little bit of detective work here, but you have so many resources. You can pinpoint and find probably my address, my phone number, and you may have an email. Actually, email is the hardest one to find, believe it or not, unless you've actually been in communication with somebody. But a phone number and an address. If you're not sure if the phone number's right, you pick up the phone and call. And I answer the phone and you go, hey, Brad, it's Scott, right? I just was thinking of you today and haven't talked to you in a little while. I want to touch base to see how things are going. Now you just verified that my number's right. But if you're using fastpeoplesearch.com, you might get 5 or 6 different numbers and you might call them. It's, dead number, nothing, one hits, and then that's when you say, hey, is this Brad Korn? Yes, Brad. Oh man, I haven't talked to you in a while. Just was thinking of you today for some crazy reason. Well, the reason why is because my system told me to. I had a master list that said you were time to fill in your gaps. I said, I realized I didn't have all your information right. So I just want to catch up. How are you doing, man? What have you been up to? How's business going? And if you were talking to me realistically, you would say, man, is there any cool stuff happening in the coaching world that I should know about? Oh man, I'll just start going crazy there. So then we're in a conversation, we're connecting, and then you can say, so are you in still Kansas City? I don't know if I even have your right address. Oh yeah, no, I'm at 6850 College Boulevard, right? So that's how you do it. You do it in conversation. So again, here, even on effective, it talks about, well, let me ask, did I answer your question okay on that?
Yes, that was great.
Awesome. Everywhere, every single person that's connected to you that you've connected with should be in this master list. Now, I hope that some of you are just now starting to realize, okay, maybe the spiral notebook is not such a dumb idea. In the day of technology and everything that we have in spreadsheets, maybe this little spiral notebook, it might be a pretty important piece to my business, because then that becomes how you feed the database and get on purpose, so that every single person from this day forward, whether they knew you before or you meet them today for the first time, goes into your database and starts on a on purpose follow-up plan, and make sure those personal touches are in there. I don't really care how you mix up the emails and the letters, and if you do them or don't do them, it really doesn't matter. If you make the phone calls and you do the personal touches through texting, like even on Facebook, when it says touch them on social media today, we don't just post something on their thread. We go into Messenger and send them a message of some sort, right? So anyway, that's how I manage those. And once I get them out of the master list, I cross them out in black permanent marker. They're done. That way, if they accidentally end up back in my master list again, because you shouldn't lose touch with them. If you put them on a smart plan, you won't put them back in your master list. But if you do, it'll show up as a duplicate when you go to add it again. And you'll be like, oh yeah, they're already in there. So I don't even have to put any thought into it. Like there's no way you don't have to keep track of who's in and who's not. Just put them on a drip plan and forget about it. The drip plan has one last step always, and that's that the plan has ended. This sits on my to-do list until I put them on another follow-up plan. Oh, something might have came up on my screen. Did somebody raise their hand? All right, maybe not.
Yes,
so again, yeah, go ahead.
I did, Brad. So you're setting this all up on command through smart plans?
Through smart plans. Smart plans are what makes it a contact management system.
Okay.
Yes, because if you just put people in the database, their name, address, phone number, and there's nothing there to tell you it's been 2 weeks or 8 weeks or 4 months since you talked to them last, there's no way you're going to remember to call them again.
And you do each person individually, or you take groups of people? And do it
Each
that
person individually, I do nothing in bulk.
Okay.
Nothing in bulk, because I can't do anything in bulk when it pops up. If I imported 100 people from something else, like right now into Command, and then I have them all start on the same smart plan today, then in my 8x8 world, I've got a call at week 4 after we connect, right? So let's just say I even meet 100 people at a chamber event today. So I'm going to put 100 people, I've got them in a spreadsheet, and I import them into Command, and I start that drip plan. Well, in 4 weeks, I've got 100 phone calls to make. Ain't gonna happen. There's
Okay.
no way it's gonna happen. But if I took those 5 people today, if I take those 100 people, I'm set for the month. I take 5 today, 5 tomorrow, 5 the next day. Listen, that example, it's a chamber event. If I put them in 2 weeks from now and then send them a handwritten note, it's not gonna botch anything. They're just a chamber event people. But you're probably not, well, I guess you could have 100 buyers come through an open house, right? And again, you should be able to filter who are the serious buyers with pre-approval letters, who are not. I would have plans for all those people. A non-approved buyer versus an approved buyer. The non-approved buyers keep getting messages from me that, have you gotten approved yet? Have you gotten approved yet? That smart plan will have a to-do in it that says in 7 days, call the lender and see if they called them yet. And then you're giving the lender their number, and then you're sending them a message because the system said, are they pre-approved yet? So call the lender, see if they're approved. I call the lender, do what the system tells me to do. Call. They're like, nope, haven't heard from them yet. All right, here's their name and number. Call them. I'm going to tell them you're calling them right now. Now I send them a text and go, lender's calling you now. They said they hadn't heard from you yet. Hopefully you haven't missed their call. So now my system is driving to get this person approved before I start going show them houses. Right? And I'm not even going to go show them houses until they drive by them. So they're not even driving by them if they're not approved. If they are driving by them and they're not approved yet, we're going to get approved before we go see the house. I mean, you have to. You can't just drive around. We don't get paid anything to show people houses. You got to get them approved. If I showed them a house and they're not approved and they love it, I can't get them the house. We're going to have to compete for it, and you're not even approved yet. So there's no reason to have them get excited about a house. So anyway, those are the kind of conversations, but the triggers are happening through the smart plan.
Great.
Did that answer your question okay?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you.
Awesome. Let it run your follow-up system. And I'm going to say it again, put personal touches in there. All this technology, everybody wants it automated. The more automated it is, the stupider we look. The dumber we look, the more issues pop through. Get that fingerprint in there where you're touching it every so often and picking up the phone and calling them. Guys, this right here will make you so much money, but everybody skips it. They don't dial the number and just hear their voice. You can find out so much from a person just by picking up the phone and calling them, right? So again, effective is segmenting into groups, right? When you're getting your categories and this neighborhood, that neighborhood. But again, it's effective when you're marketing to haven't met people. When you're marketing to 5 people you connect with a day and you're talking about the plan, the real true 8x8 plan. I mean, that could be the plan. That the group is the 8x8 plan. That tells you these are people you have connected with and that they've gotten your handwritten note and that you've got calls scheduled in there with them. But honestly, the way I'm talking and the way I've done this for 20 plus years, 25 plus years, I don't have to do anything bulk. I have very few bulk groups and no reason to really pull people up other than like Blue Springs is one of our communities. I've mentioned this before, that we have a fair every year. And so if we used to have a booth at the fair and we would do drawing tickets. And so we would draw people to our booth to keep our booth packed by having people categorized by Blue Springs. So that one time I would send one blast thing out. And it was their drawing ticket to bring it by our booth. If you can't come by and see us, mail it in and we'll still get you in the drawing for the bike or the TV or whatever we were giving away that we got donated by one of our vendors, right? So that's the only reason I would ever use bulk. So anyway, local agents too. So local agents is one category in my database, and KW prospect is another category. So if I were to search for local agents that are KW prospects, because Gary Keller or Mark King is coming to Kansas City to speak, I can send a blast invite out to my KW prospects, meaning that they work for a competitor, and their local agents. I would invite them to the class because they're co-op agents. I co-op with these people. They show my properties. I show their properties. I'm going to send it to them, and they might join my downline. I mean, guys, I got money going into my bank account every single month. I have over 700 people in my downline that I did nothing on purpose for it. I just set up systems. I stay in touch with people, and they come over and put me down as their sponsor. I mean, it just happens like automatic. So I did nothing, like I did not just devote my life to recruiting agents. I'm an agent that sells. That's how that grew. And then your purposeful and consistent communication. One thing I'm going to say there, remember 98% of the people are not buying or selling. So only about 1/4 or 1/3 of your follow-up information needs to be about real estate. It should still be in there because you are a real estate agent, but it shouldn't be, in my opinion, 100% real estate with all this stuff, because 98% of the people are not buying or selling right now. So why are you going to hammer them with real estate, especially when you just use the script probably, hey, are you thinking about buying or selling real estate? And they say no, then you put them on an all email drip plan for real estate stuff. Doesn't make any sense to me. So customize it to where they are. 98% of people just need my follow-up. That's why that one thing, they bought a house without seeing it, or too much lawn to mow. It's chicken soup from the soul stories that were a little bit real estate related to make sure they're thinking about real estate when they get it, but it's not hammering them with real estate. They're not buying or selling. They're going to call me when they're ready because I stay in touch with them. And then the exceptional way to use that database is all that communication's automated. So start the SMART plan and forget about them. Get them in, start the SMART plan, and forget about it. I don't even use the database for anything else but that. I just go in and print my letters for the day. My emails went out automatically, and I do my to-dos and my calls for the day. Those are my lists, and I do that every morning before the sun gets up. So I've got my call list ready to go while I'm running around throughout the day. My to-dos, like if it was a social media touch or something like that, I've done that before the sun came up, right? And just knock those out, and that's my office time. And then I go out and just respond to the day. Gary Keller's the one, I just hear his voice all the time. It's like, if you do what matters most before 11 o'clock, then you can go do whatever you want the rest of the day. Whatever you want. If you decide, like I have had people call me and go, hey, there was a golf tournament today, and some of those golf tournaments are $200 to enter. And my buddy will call and go, yeah, what's his name can't come. His ticket's already paid for. We just need a player. And it's 11 o'clock, and I'm like, yeah, I can come golf today because I've done everything I needed to do in the morning. I got my to-dos done. I have my call list, but I'll even call while I'm doing the golf or on my way there or right afterwards. I can do that anytime. But I can goof off for the day because the most important things got done, my touches. All right. Any other questions, comments, jumping in, anything? So why use the database? Man, you have to keep this organized. Like if I told you 5 people today, here's what an 8x8 looks like. Let me tell you, 8x8, day 0, did I send a handwritten note? 7 days later, I send them a letter. It's a resume. It says, hey, it's great connecting. Wanted to give you just a little background on everything that we do. And it's kind of got a resume of what we do. Like I'm the marketing guy, might have a team member that's a buyer's agent, our lender. This is our preferred lender, whatever it might be. It just shows the team and everybody's roles. It's nothing. I don't care if they read it or not. They're probably not going to. But that's the first thing that goes out. Second thing that goes out is a chicken soup from the soul story. That goes out on day 14. And then another email goes out, or that's an email probably. And then I think the next one is a letter. I just kind of mix them up. So the next one is a letter. So they won't even get a letter until it's like 3 or 4 weeks apart, or they won't get any emails more than probably every 3 weeks or 4 weeks, because there's other stuff in there. Touch them on social media, send them a text message, make a phone call. So I have a phone call on day 21, 3 weeks after, or I'm sorry, day 28, 4 weeks after. Then another letter, then an email, then a letter, and then another call 8 weeks out. So if I put 5 people in today, right, and I write my 5 notes, I'm good. That's done. Now, tomorrow I add 5 people and I write my 5 notes. Good. Let's go down the road about 6 days. I add my 5 people. I write my notes. All good. Day 7, I add my 5 people. I write my 5 notes. Oh, wait, now I've got something that needs to happen to the first 5 people is a letter. Okay, so I'm on week 2, day 1 of week 2. I've got to add my 5 people, write my notes, and send 5 letters. Okay, so now I do that for the rest of the week. So now let's go to day 14. I'm 3 weeks in. I'm starting my 3rd week. So now I add my 5 people, and I write my 5 notes, right? So I did that. Now I've got 5 letters from the people from last week that are getting week 7. And I have 5 emails that need to go out to the people from the very first week. Can you see how quickly you can lose control? You got to hit a start button and just forget about it and just do what it says to do. There's no, you go 30 days in, just forget it. You're not going to know who you're supposed to call next, who you talked to last. And that also takes care of just the today business, right? When you're just calling around and you're looking for that next piece of business, it's just the day business. The predictable ROI part is based on if you have 2,000 people in your database, it is very predictable that you have 400 sales waiting right now. They're going to happen in the next 12 months. And you divide that by 12, and that'll tell you how many you're going to have this month. That's how many people out of those 1,000 people are moving, or 2,000 people are moving this month. It's very predictable. If they're moving every 5 years, you can predict your business. So there's 2 types of business, today's business and tomorrow's business. And there's just no way. Tomorrow's business is 98% of the people you should be adding into your database. And I say should, because if you don't, then you're always looking for today's business. And once that person becomes a client and you sell them a house, they're done for the next 5 years. So you got a database of 5-year down the road business, and you're praying that you remember to stay in touch with them for that long, or they will remember you in 5 years, because most people you haven't talked to, and you're looking for that business for today, and nobody's doing anything with the 98% of the people that aren't doing anything today, but 20% of them are moving in the next 12 months, and 20% are moving the next 12 months, and 20% are moving the next 12 months. So that's your pipeline of business. All right, so this is the one thing I really, really wanted you guys to see today. So you get a database and you put 100 people in your database, right? So on this one, oh, let me back up here. Yeah, that's it. So you add 100 people that are in the marketplace, and you go out and meet 100 people today. So when we really look at this, 65 of those people are looking to be homeowners and 35 are not. Okay. That narrows it down to, comes down even more, that out of the 65, 58 of those people are off the market, and you got 7 people left that you actually might be working with out of 100 people. So when you get this 100 to 1, they just talk about the ratio of being 10 to 1 to 14 to 1. And they have tracked dollars from millionaire real estate agents that when you spend $14, you should get a piece of business. They've seen those leads go up to at least like $40 or 40 to 1. So just staying in touch with people. And if you're staying in touch with people that's in your database that you have a relationship with, and you got phone calls and you got personal touches built in there, I mean, really your cost for that lead converting is almost a postage stamp or 2. Okay. Ariana, you got a question?
Yeah, I have a question. So you said earlier that you categorize your database. Is that with tags or just in different categories?
Well, no, it's like it would be tags for that neighbor or for that city example that I used. However, I don't like those and I don't use them much. I have very few tags and categories because I just put everybody on an 8x8 and a 33 touch. If they're a potential seller, so here's what happens. The 98% of the people that are running on my 8x8, when the 8x8's over, I start the 36 touch smart plan, right? So when that's over, it says start the 36 touch plan again. They're on the 36 touch plan forever until they're one of the 20% that are moving this month. And if They heard my voice a couple times in the first 8 weeks. I was top of mind when they think of real estate. The 36 touch kept me there, and I called them every 3 months, like the system said to do. And they heard my voice a few times a year, 4 to be exact. Whenever they become the 20%, they pick up the phone and call me. I get this call every single day, guys. It's just like, hey, we were just talking about remodeling the kitchen, and my wife reminded we probably should call you first and see if this is the right thing to do on something like that, right? So by the time I get over there and look at it and we walk through, you know, if they're going to remodel their kitchen and spend $50,000 on it, I'm talking about $50,000. Do you think you might stay here and get $50,000 enjoyment out of it? Or could you guys cash out and buy a house with the perfect kitchen in it and not pay the $50,000, but get a $50,000 kitchen for say $5,000 because it's in the price of a house in a better neighborhood that's got more appreciation than where you are now? At least I get to have that conversation with them. It's not to talk them into selling, it's to walk them through that option. And most people would be like, yeah, why would we do that? I mean, we wouldn't remodel the kitchen with $50,000 to sell it. You should have enjoyed it while you had it and then sell and capitalize on it. So let's just see if there's another house that has this perfect kitchen in it that you'll like. Well, by the time I start sending them properties and they drive by, they get the bug. They're already thinking about remodeling because they want this new look, and they get the bug, and then they want to list and they buy another property. So
So what I hear you saying is that you have a simple, organized system that has your database calling you when they're ready.
That's it. Yes, you are very aware of that from my conversation. There's things built in to trigger them to call me. I will tell you, my phone rings because I call out, though. You're not going to get them to call you if you're never calling them. The reason they're calling me when they're the 20% and when it's their month is because I've done such a great job of staying in touch with them. There is nobody else they would call but Brad Korn. Like, I'm not even making this stuff up, guys. I mean, I'm going to give you a funny example here. So just like, we're going back into the 80s when my mom was dating this one guy when I was a kid in junior high, right? He gets my stuff. Like, we sold them a house, but he's been on a drip plan. Once I found him or came across him somewhere, it's like, oh my gosh, Larry, my mom's old boyfriend. This was 20, 30 years later, right? And I stayed in touch with him, and he picks up the phone when he's ready to buy a house because Brad Korn's the real estate agent, because I've talked to him a couple times. He gets drip stuff from me. And when I answered the phone, he was like, you're actually answering the phone? You're like a superstar. I'm like, what? It's like, man, I see your stuff everywhere, billboards, signs, this stuff, and you actually answered the phone. It's like, well, we're not anything special, but yet he thought that was just amazing that I would be the one to answer the phone. He worked with me directly. Actually, when he bought his house, he used my buyer's agent, but I've talked to them. We just listed his mother's house, or his brother's house. His mom had the stuff and he was helping with all that, but his brother passed away and it was out in Odessa. So I'm the only person that they'll call for real estate ever. And I've connected them with an attorney the one attorney that was going through this whole probate thing was a nightmare. And I have connections of people that aren't nightmares. These are people that I work with all the time. So I got them referred to the people they needed to know to make everything go smooth. So I'm a connector too. So back to your question, yes, they do call me. I just don't have to be calling them the day they're thinking about selling. They're going to call me, but because of the phone calls out to cultivate the relationship, they will pick up the phone and call me because I went beyond just an email or a letter follow-up. Does that make sense? So that's where you've got to have some kind of system in there to keep it all organized, or there's no way to keep track of it at all. The database.
Do you use the D2 system?
Well, let me ask you guys, do you use that?
We're encouraged to use it.
Right. So do you use it? Not encouraged to. Do you?
I do. And October 1st is starting the fourth quarter to start the new cycle of 13 weeks.
Yep. So do you use it religiously every single day?
I have started using it very recently, last quarter.
All right. If I had everybody respond that you use it religiously every single day, how many of you could say yes? So, and then the question would be, why not? And not that it's bad. That is a way to clean up your database. It is a system. So if you're using it, you should keep doing it. Why I'm going to tell you I don't think a lot of people use it is because when I hear people talk about it, they're like, you know, the D324 thing, whatever that thing. If you can't even say what it is, you can't do it. I'm talking about A to Z, put everybody on a smart plan and forget about it. Because there's no thought into that, right? But you got to have your address, your phone number. Like the Reconnect plan is a simple 4-step plan. And what I find is if you are using it, please keep using it. But you're going to be hodgepodging around in your database, so you won't ever know if your database is completely organized. So you'll be keeping in touch with probably at first, you naturally keep in touch with about 10% of your database naturally. 80 to 90% of the people they haven't heard from you in years. In fact, look at your number on your database number. How many of those people have you talked to in the last 3 weeks? That number, right? So if you're doing it every single day, you should be able to say 10 or 20, or I've talked to at least 30 of those people in the last few days because I'm following it every single day. If you can't say that, then the system's too complicated and you're not doing it. So, and on top of that, we already make everything more complicated than it really needs to be. That's a real simple system, except if you don't understand it and you forget what it is and you forget where you're supposed to, which month are we on, what week, if I have to look for it twice, I'm done. So I just say A to Z until I get through my entire database. Now there's the flip side. Most people will give up or they start jumping over. They're like, oh, I don't know who that is. I don't know who those people are. Oh, there's a comfortable name. Yeah, that's my pastor from church. And they skip their database. So that's why this is to help you quit, to have some kind of system to not just hodgepodge your database. But if you truly start with A and go to Z and put everybody on some kind of plan, here's one thing that I've suggested. And I always say this, and it scares the crud out of people. But everybody in your met and haven't met list, this is haven't met, this is met, right? If they're in your database, you would think your mind is telling you you've met them. That's why they're in your database, right? Or they've inquired about property or whatever. But honestly, if you think of it like not connected and connected, you're probably not connected with 99.9% of your database. Like really connect. Like if I say your number for 2,300 people, how many of those 2,300 people talked to you in the last few weeks? Most people are like, probably none of them, right? Maybe a couple that you're currently working with. So when that happens, you become disconnected. And what I'm going to tell you, I figured out because this book, here's what I figured out. Because this book says MET is an 8x8 and 33 touch. This is old MREA, so now it's 36 touch. But when agents start telling me, well, I've got a modified 36 touch. I don't do 36 pieces because that's just too much. Okay, stop right there. Listen to how you're talking to yourself. This was a study done by 28 millionaires. This is the common thing that every single one of them did to make $1 million. Yet what we do is we take the model and we change it because it's not right. And so you try to get creative and then you end up with the triangle thing. I don't know if I can find it fast enough, but it's right in the front of the book. If you guys remember the following models and not changing the models until you're actually doing the models. Here it is right here. Look at this graphic, right? So many of us try to get creative from the very beginning because we're independent contractors and we're pretty smart. So we try to get creative before we just put the models in place. The model is feed the database every day, stay in touch with it systematically, and then you can deliver great service. So when people start hodgepodging around and doing all that stuff, they're not staying in touch with their database. Does that make sense? I think I finished that topic, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Brad,
okay, cool. Yeah.
What I've been noticing is that, I was adding to my database and going after people, but looking for the deal, looking for the person who's selling now or buying now, and not kind of doing what you're doing is like gaining I don't know, just their attention and getting into people who are going to buy 6 months or a year from now. It's like I've been going for, I want the sale, I want the sale, I want the listing. So that's kind of an aha for me from, the last time I took your class and from this time,
Yeah.
this is like long-term advertising or long-term nurturing.
It's the long game. Now you can still play the short game. You're still going to look for your next deal, but remember, 98% of the people while you're going through that process connect with just 5 of them. Even if you call 20 FSBOs a day, the goal is to at least have 5 of them not hang up on you. And if you make 20 calls a day on FSBOs and you did that religiously, I'm telling you, 5 people are nice, right? They still may not be doing anything right now. You're going to get your 1 per 100 that are doing something, or 2 per 100, which that doesn't make any sense. If they're for sale by owner, it should be 100 of 100, but it works out that like maybe 1 will meet with you. The other 5 that didn't hang up, or the other 4 go on this plan I'm talking about. The other 15 people can go on a 12 touch plan. So that's where I was going with that database example and the D2, D3, right? Is that if you just put all from A to Z on a 12 touch drip plan, no phone calls, no nothing, maybe a trigger in there somewhere to find their missing information so you could move them over. But you might as well just put your whole entire database on a 12 touch plan. 12 touch plan is haven't met or not connected. And there, because if you don't have them on an 8x8 or a 36 touch because you're really not connected and you feel like you'll be spamming them, then they're not connected. They're 12 touch. Just 12 touch them and capture the 1%, and then start making your 20 calls a day from A to Z to move them over to the 8x8 and the 33 touch. Once you get your database set up for that, then the pipeline business will start coming through and you won't have to look for that next piece of business your whole career. So that's, I mean, you let it right into it, Scott, on developing your database. And it's going to be more time intensive to put people in individually versus mass marketing to them, because you're talking about finding 5 a day, writing handwritten notes, starting the plan, but it's being proactive with your business. And if you stay in touch with all 2,300 people in your database, you're going to have 230 to 460 predictable closed opportunities that are coming your way. Question is, are you going to capture them? Because if you didn't stay in touch with it correctly, then and you're not personally connected to them, then you're just praying that they think of you. And most people can't even remember the last realtor they use. Yeah. So again, this talks about the different tags. I know you naturally want to put tags in there. I don't use tags at all, because if I have to search for somebody for bulk, it would be for something specific like that Blue Springs resident stuff that I said. But other than that, my relationships are flowing through the whole database at any given time. I'm talking to people that are now sellers as of today, and I'm talking to a whole bunch of people that aren't selling or buying right now, but we're just connecting and staying in touch. So again, you can do all the tags in Command. I like the colors too. For green is a potential buyer who's ready to look. Maybe yellow is somebody who's not, doing anything right now, but might be. You can use the colors and do all that stuff. But if you get too caught up in tags and tagging people and putting all these colors in, you're doing the wrong activity, in my opinion. Go connect with people, write handwritten notes, let that be your filter. And then that's where you determine if you're going to put them, if they're a lead or if they're a contact. Contacts, you're going to stay in touch with 38 times in 8 weeks and then 36 times a year. The leads are just going on a monthly drip plan, something, and you might add a call in there just so you can not forget about them and try and get them on the phone to move them over to a contact. But that's the biggest difference, is making everybody contacts in your database. They're in there for a reason. You're friends with them on Facebook for a reason. So again, some of the stuff that you can send out, obviously, if you had any kind of testimonials, even if it's one testimonial, that's one of the pieces I send out, right? And you could print that from like your Google page and make it a mailer if you want. You could just have those sitting around, and if it says mail something and you don't have it sending letters to your printer like mine does, you just have something random to send to keep your logo in front of them, right? And then regularly update and prune your database. I don't prune my database a whole lot. The only reason I would ever prune my database is the guy's a total jerk, and I wouldn't want to work with him if he did call me. which actually that's got to be pretty bad, because actually even the mean people, I still keep them in my database because they like to put pressure on my systems. And if I can get a mean person through my system and they have a great experience and they say, you know, thank you very much, you did a great job, then my system's like even running better than I can imagine. So I don't prune very often because everybody's moving. So anyway, guys, that's where we are on the ahas. I'll kind of pop up right there and pause out for a second if you guys need to ask any other questions, comments, clarity.
Brad, how do you capitalize on good reviews that you get from sellers or from buyers? Like, do you get it in Google, and then do you like kind of take that and send that out to people and say, hey, look at what, you know, people say about doing business with Brad Korn?
Great question. What it is it's repetition and everywhere. So they might get an email with the quick, easy link, right? But in my campaign that's running, so for my contract to close plan, there's something that triggers, like I think it's like a week after we get into under contract and we've listed their house, it actually triggers and it says, make sure they're having a good experience, which is just for our trigger, but everybody is. I never delete it out because the email's going out in 3 days to ask them to leave a Google review. We ask them to review us at the beginning of the transaction when everything's going great, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll have a trigger that'll pop in right like a week before closing to see if it says, see if they left a Google review. And it's a to-do on my part. So I might pull it up and see, and they didn't leave a Google review. So now another email is going to go out. This is right before closing. So we schedule our action plans to go 45 days. So at day, like say 35 as a to-do, did they leave a Google review from way back here? And it's not there. So I'm just going to let this plan run because another email is going to go out now and say, hey, we missed your Google review. We'd love to hear your experience, blah, blah, blah. And then behind that email is an actual phone call that happens 2 days later to say, call and get the review. And then there's another to-do that pops up with a text message that says, text them the link for the review. Because now I've sent the email, I called, they either did or didn't do it yet. I send the text message to link. So and then they get one in the mail after closing or right before closing that says, did you leave us a Google review? And it's got a couple of them on there. So the answer to your question, Scott, is multiple mediums asking for it throughout the transaction. That's the only, you're going to have to ask 7 times. And in fact, you might even have to, on your phone call, say, here, let's do that. Because I'm like, oh yeah, it was a great experience. I'm so sorry. It's like, well, no, can you do this real quick here? I just sent you a text message with the link. Click on it right now. I'll walk you through it. Oh, okay. That's going to get you 100% reviews every single time. But most people just let it go on autopilot, expect them to do it, and we don't get very many. So
Got it.
my system's not even that good. I do not call them, bug them for the review, which I probably should, you know, but it's okay. I've got a lot because I've been doing it for a while, but that's what I would do. If somebody wants reviews and you're going to, some algorithm that you figured out and you want to get X amount of reviews, that's how I'm going to do it. They're going to get a personal phone call. I'm going to walk them through it. Good stuff, guys. Anybody else? Are you glad you came today? All right, there's our Survey Monkey. Oh, wait, let me see here. Survey Monkey, let me click on this and put it into the chat box. If you guys will fill out a review on this class, that would be awesome. It lets your leadership know that it's worth having me come here and join you guys for these sessions and keep them going. Other than that, we have a great day. You can just click the link right now. You can fill in the Google review. Right, Scott?
Yeah.
If you don't do it, I'm going to call you.